Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin James from Scalp MicroPigmentation Australia, and welcome to another 5-minute fast facts on Scalp MicroPigmentation Pro Artist Series, where we're interviewing some amazing scalp micropigmentation artists from around the world and getting their tips and tricks on how you can get the best out of your scalp micropigmentation transformation. Today's guest lives in Everett, which is north of Seattle, in Washington State in the USA. This lovely lady and myself started scalp micropigmentation around the same time, but she's been tattooing almost longer than I've been alive. So, sorry, Pam, but she has a wealth of knowledge and has seen our industry evolve. We are very lucky to have done training together back in 2015 in Arizona with Joe Taylor, where we first met. And then I was super lucky to go back to her beautiful clinic in Seattle for a further short stint and spent some more time with her, seeing her beautiful location there. She is the one and only Pam Neighbours from TRILLIUM Inc. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent. So you've been tattooing for a very long time. So please share with us your beginning story and how you decided to enter the scalp micropigmentation industry as another service to provide in your art and permanent makeup industry or business. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, you said it, I've been tattooing a lot of years. I started in the permanent makeup industry when no one knew what that was. There was a time when no one knew what that was. So I was in the salon business. And I was an esthetician. So when I heard about it, of course, I grabbed a hold and I was off and running. And so as I moved forward with my career in permanent cosmetics, I started working with a lot of alopecia clients. I had a heart for the alopecia market. There was more and more of those popping up. And so I had quite a referral network from some of the different dermatologists in the area that would send their clients in. And it just started happening naturally. I had these alopecia men would send me emails and say, oh my gosh, look what they're doing in Europe. Look what I found. Can you do this for my head? And I was like, what? Mm-hmm. And so, in the early days, we had dabbled in this and it was disastrous. We were thinking along the same lines of the procedure that we do now. We were trying to do it the same way as everything else we tattooed. And the results were absolutely disastrous. So I had a bad taste in my mouth for it. And I kept pushing these guys away. And I kept getting emails. And I'd follow the links. And then one day I was like, gosh, how are they doing this? So I started pursuing it. It took me about 6 years to actively pursue it.
Yeah.
And then I went out of the country for my first training, and, Caitlin, you and I and a couple others met up on some of the very, very first Facebook groups and started sharing notes and comparing, and we went on to get more. We needed hands-on training. So that's when, I met in Phoenix, and I was off and running with the scalp work. It was very natural. It fit into my business very naturally because so many of my people already were dealing with hair loss issues. And so I had no trouble getting started.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. So what would you say is your favorite thing about the scalp micropigmentation transformations?
Oh my gosh. I say it about my permanent makeup business. After 30 years, I still do not get over the awe of how much someone's person can change when I get those brows corrected.
Mm-hmm.
We get a nice brow shape on someone. It is no different with scalp. I mean, a hairline will do for a young man who's lost his hair and his years, his look is years beyond where he really is. The gratitude from your clients and it's life-changing for people, whether it's the way they look or it's their self-confidence or whether it's just the ease, these women, wearing all this stuff, it's incredibly difficult. And so there's nothing about it that's not positive. I love my job every day. I tell people all the time, I said, I never get over it. I never get over how important it is and how gratifying it is to me that I get to go to work and I get to provide this for people. So yeah.
100%.
I still love drug. Yeah.
And I think that's, that definitely shows because you're still doing this 30 something years later. Congratulations on making such a big milestone, in this industry. 30 years is an extremely long time. And for someone who's still so passionate about this, it really shows that, these results can change people's lives, and it keeps lots of us really motivated to continue doing what we're doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. So today I thought we would chat about women experiencing hair loss and how scalp micropigmentation can help, because you do seem to get a lot of ladies, where you are doing the scalp micropigmentation, whether that's because you have such a huge client base from your permanent makeup business, that maybe then some of those transition in, but you are very well known for doing a lot of women in the scalp micropigmentation, with scalp micropigmentation. So just explain to the ladies who may be watching, how can scalp micropigmentation, which is known to be more of a male treatment for the shaven look, how can this then transfer into helping someone with thinning hair?
Well, first off, Caitlin, you know this, but for our audience, we refer to women's treatments as density treatments.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. We also do the same technique on men who maybe have had a transplant and they don't have the fullness that they want, or they're guys that just the way their hormones react, their hair is still there and they have, a diffuse thinning, but they still have no noticeable bald spots. It's all the same thing, and so we call it density. The technique is really not any different, but for these women in particular, society will say, we've accepted the fact that men lose their hair. Well, I disagree with that. I mean, maybe we see more of it, but when you're the one losing your hair, it is not okay. I don't care if you're a man or woman. And I went through a traumatic experience myself and lost like 50% of my hair. And I'm telling you, it is not fun. Mm-hmm. So the treatments that we do for women, instead of mimicking hair stubble, it just gives the appearance of more hair follicles or thicker hair follicles for people whose hair is thinning. Mm-hmm. And there's definite parameters to what we do with that, but we find that it cuts that contrast between, especially, the hair and that mousy white scalp that usually doesn't see a lot of sun. So it makes it a lot less noticeable and a lot easier for people to deal with some creative styling, rather than trying to deal with fibers and dyes and mm-hmm. all the assortment of things that are available for people out there right now. So women, swimming, and there's things they still are going to do those types of products for, but there's a lot of stuff, active women in particular, or people who live in rainy climates like ours, or hot, sweaty climates. People that are in the extremes, it's a really tough thing to deal with because that stuff gets everywhere. So this gives them a permanent alternative where they can swim or they can sweat, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, perfect. And what are the considerations for ladies who like to colour or dye or bleach their hair? What do they need to keep in mind if they've got scalp micropigmentation or about to do a transformation with scalp micropigmentation in terms of colouring?
Again, the rules don't change. This scalp, hair is all the same color at the scalp. It's not a color, but the only hair type that I seem to struggle with a little bit is the one who have the warm red hair. Mm-hmm. I can't go too dark. We've got to stay in the lighter tones. Any hair color can actually benefit from the scalp micropigmentation, the density treatments. People that want to swing from one side to the other, from very dark to very light, now that's going to be a little bit more difficult. But again, I don't worry as people are lightening as they get older, like if they're as dark as I am, and I'll be truthful, I'm getting ready to go through this whole thing myself. Hang on. Can you hear the racket?
You've got
Sorry. Sorry. But as your hair starts lightening, the pigment is lightening in time also. Mm-hmm. I treat every single density client I do, though, the same as I do a bald head. Every dot has got to be very precise, because what about when they go lighter? What about if they lose their hair later on? What about if they have chemo or alopecia, God forbid, anything like that should happen? That scalp needs to be pristine. It needs to be a perfect S&P application. So I don't treat a density any differently than I do a bald client. Yeah. And so when their hair is going to change, as your hair lightens as you get older, those lighter gray tones are absolutely striking under white hair. And as I'm transitioning, since this whole era of not having any salons open and all of our roots growing out, I'm platinum white. I've colored for years. I'm not afraid to say it. and I'm going to give it a shot. And I can already tell you, I do not like that mousy scalp. I will have one of you tattooing my scalp. A nice medium shade of gray. It kind of looks like a blonde with grow out.
Yeah.
You know, if you're bleached all the way to the scalp, you kind of don't have you don't have any framing.
Yeah.
White hair, kind of the same. So that little bit of color at the scalp, it can be super soft or it can be a little bit more intense. Either way, it still gives really nice definition and it gives the illusion of depth to the hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful.
So yeah, they're actually my favorites are the whites and the blondes. They're my favorites to do. Yeah, I love the intensity that it brings.
Yeah, because I believe that's quite a big consideration. Like if someone like yourself does want to transition into, you know, white or grey and be more natural, like having a darker SMP under there, you know, may be worrying. So it's good for, you know, our clients to understand that what we're creating needs to have a plan in place if you do decide to do, you know, lighter hair tone in future or go white or grey. It is a big consideration. Yeah, definitely.
I think part of the secret to success long term with women that are maybe going from the darker brunettes and the blacks, or any of the shades for that matter, to going into the lighter colors is to not, you know, as a technician, you know, we all know if something is good, then more has to be better. And women in particular think that. So when I'm working on these women, I have to really rein it back. I've learned by pushing it too far to not let someone push me for too much color or too dark or too solid, because I have to plan for the future and I want it to look good, you know, forever, not just right this second. So those are some of the things we really have to watch out for.
Yeah. And do you feel like there's an increase in women now having treatments with scalp micropigmentation? Do you think it's changing?
You know, I having such a big database full of females, it was only natural that those people, they already had trust in me and had a relationship with me. So of course I started off with a huge bang in the female market. But you're right, SMP still is very, very much directed at men's hair loss issues. And there still is a tremendous amount of men as technicians and providers in the industry.
Yeah.
But I think there is more and more awareness. And as more and more women come from the cosmetic tattoo side into the SMP world, I think that there is more exposure to women. And so, you know, I feel like I'm still doing as many as I ever was, but it seems like it's finally starting to come to age and more women are promoting it as a women's service, not just as a service for balding males.
Yeah, yeah. So this might be a nice step for someone who doesn't want to yet go to a topper or a wig. The scalp micropigmentation is kind of baby steps, although it is a big consideration if you're going to do this because it is a more permanent procedure. You need to make sure this is the right thing for you, but it may be the difference in delaying the need for something like a topper or a wig, you know, for 10 to 15 years if you're happy with the growth but just need a little bit more of a fuller looking effect, and you're not keen on using fibers like you mentioned, then this may be a good option for you just to create a thicker, fuller effect.
Yeah, and again, some women, depending upon the degree of the thinning that they're experiencing, you know, they're still going to want to go out. They're going to want the density that the toppers give them or the density that some of the products will give them. But again, in everyday life, when they're running around the house or when they want to go to the gym or they want to do things where you just cannot wear something like that or it's not comfortable, you know, this is a great alternative. So it takes some of the worry away of them, you know, opening the front door for, you know, Amazon delivery guy and they have a bald spot showing. You know, we all worry about those things. We don't want to get caught without our makeup, and so, you know, that's why we tattoo everything. It's no different with hair loss. And not every situation is going to allow for them to go, you know, to that much length. It's, you know, so it does ease of use. It's called ease of use. And a lot of women, it's all they need. And they will go for quite a few years without having to do anything else.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Pam, for your expert opinions on how scalp micropigmentation can be used to create a thicker, fuller look for the ladies with thinning hair. So a big thank you for being a part of our 5-minute fast facts on scalp micropigmentation pro artist series. I know many women out there who are looking for a little more options with their hair loss solutions may now like to consider scalp micropigmentation as another option. So thank you, Pam, for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you have any questions or comments, we want to hear from you. So as always, don't be shy. Give us a call or an email and pop something in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, and so you don't miss out on any updates as we release our latest content. So thanks everyone for watching, and we hope to see you soon.
Thank you.